Really interested in the concept of hyperlocal media generally, and of course journalism and news and information services are at the heart of that. If we think about the fact that people are coming online via their smartphone, Eric Schmidt at Google predicts that over the next 10 years globally 6 billion people will be coming online, most of them via their mobile phone. Most of those mobile phones will be location aware, so they'll be able to know where you are. That offers fantastic potential for hyperlocal media. And we know that very local media is a real public good. Not, on the first level it tells people where you are, what's going on in your area, but it also helps draw people together, gives them a sense of community. So local media is really, really important.
So you've talked a bit about sense of community. What happens to communities when they don't have any local news?
Oh, well, I think they feel much more dislocated about the place that they live. If you look at traditional media, TV and radio are not really at a level granular enough to know what's going on in your immediate vicinity, your street level or your village level or your town level. And this stuff's really important for Wales because it's such a dispersed set of communities. So we think there are actually big black holes in terms of media coverage and information and news coverage in Wales, primarily because so much of it is a rural area. So one of the projects that we funded in our hyperlocal media programme aims to plug that gap with a mobile-based service, providing local news and information to people who otherwise would find it very difficult to get that at a very local level.
So you've put your money where your mouth is?
We have put our money where our mouth is. Very happy to do. I mean, in a way, Wales is particularly important for hyperlocal stuff because of its diversity and its spread. And I think language is also important too. We funded Papua Dre to do a project in the Welsh language. There's no reason why indigenous languages should lose out to new forms of technology, for example. It's really important, this stuff. Modes of consumption are changing. So, we have in our pocket, we don't have in our pocket, but we've got these, or we have our smartphone in our pocket. We use them, they're out and about, they're connected to the internet. I've just been speaking to 3 or 4 people who live in Wales who can't get broadband through their BT phone line or through cable. Coverage they can't get the coverage. So in that position, kind of mobile smartphones become really important. And mobile smartphones do have the ability to help you filter in and out content. And so that's when hyperlocal news and information becomes terrifically important, because you can find out very quickly and very easily what's going on around you. It's quite tough. Hyperlocal as a term, people argue about the definitions. And Nesta, we use a definition which is, news and information services pertaining to a very small geographical area. That might be where you live, but it might be about where you are at the time being. You step off the train in Cardiff, you want to know the best bars. It's very useful to use hyperlocal media services to find reviews of the best places, as well as to find out news and information about what's going on, whether to go to Cardiff Bay or whether to have a beer in Roath or something like that. That's very useful information. And so it's this awareness of what's going on, but it's also useful information for people on the go, easy to access, which is, I think, really driving its uptake.
And would you say connects communities?
Well, that's what I was talking about. I mean, if you want to use a phrase, connected communities is a good one, but I actually think that timely, dynamic news and information, yes, it's part of community, but it's a bit more useful than that. Connected communities, yes, there's that kind of bringing people together aspect to it, but I don't think it's just about that. I think it's just useful information about where people are at the moment as well.
How is this going to impact on the future of journalism? Where would we be without hyperlocal journalism for the future?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about the kind of, I've talked a lot about demand and the ability for audiences to consume this stuff. We haven't really talked about supply and the production base. And I'm sure, as people know, the news industry is, especially the local news industry, is going through kind of radical change at the moment, with newspaper organisations dramatically cutting their cost base, dramatically thinking about digital as new forms of revenue stream, experimenting with business models, moving from dailies to weeklies, or weeklies to free dailies, and there's a lot of experimentation at the moment, which is encouraging, I think, because it stimulates innovation. The other thing that we haven't really mentioned is that it's relatively easy to do nowadays. 100 years ago, you had to own a printing press, you had to have some capital behind you. Now quite a lot of hyperlocal activity can be created with WordPress sites, and the barriers to entry are falling dramatically. That also throws up some real questions about quality, and do you actually need trained journalists anymore? What additional value do they provide? There's questions there about the fourth estate, which are quite profound questions. So there's quite a rich stream of debate and consideration about the production of this stuff. But I do like the idea of focusing on demand, because that really is going to drive the shakedown of some of these business models going forward.